Hi, I am Latika. I am a working mom of four girls, a wife, and I am a workforce development, career development professional. And I want to take a moment to share my story with you. As I mentioned, I am a working mom of four, and throughout my career, I have been really successful prior to having children. And even when I had my first two, I was still relatively successful going up the career ladder. And so I'm going up the career ladder, gaining promotions, going to networking events. Everything was good. But it wasn't until I got pregnant with my third that other individuals and the networks that I was in, colleagues, they made comments about me having a growing family. Most people knew that my career aspirations were to be a chief learning officer in a very male dominated industry. And so they often would say things like, you're never going to go up the career ladder with all those kids. Do you have anything else to do with your time besides having sex? I would get these comments from colleagues, and when I say colleagues, I would get these comments from like leaders, chief of staff, those in leadership positions that know well enough not to say things like that. But I continue to have these comments and these individuals, these naysayers saying negative things to me. And then I got pregnant with my fourth, and I struggled. I actually didn't tell anyone that I was pregnant for a very long time with my fourth daughter because I myself was wrapping around, how in the world am I going to do this? How am I going to be in corporate America with four girls? Like that's unheard of, right? And so here I am struggling with the concept of, how am I going to balance? How am I going to manage life? Because it was a transition from one child to two, two to three. But when you have four, two are in daycare, two in elementary school, oh, it was a lot. It was a lot. And, of course, I thank God, I praise God for all four of my children. But I struggled so much because I didn't know how I could balance it all, right? And so here it is. I gave birth to my daughter, my fourth daughter, and I still struggled because I'm like, oh, I didn't like the position that I was in, because the position, of course, here I am in a male dominated industry, and they really did not promote work life balance. They didn't promote flexibility. I was in a position where my child was sick. One of my girls was sick, and I guess leaders didn't believe that she was sick, but I came in with my sick daughter to present this project that I had been working on, knowing that my daughter was sick. I had her in a room. One of my colleagues had her in the room, and just kept her, comfortable while I was doing this presentation for this project. And it felt like, why am I here? You do not recognize that yes, I am reliable. I showed up today with my child, but my child is sick, running a fever. And I felt worthless. I felt like they didn't care. They didn't appreciate me. They obviously didn't believe me that I had a child that was sick. And so all of these thoughts came through my head, and I was just like, God, what is going on here? Well, eventually, fast forward about 8 months after I had my daughter, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. And during that time, I thank God for my doctor, because when she diagnosed me, she wrote a letter to my employer and said, hey, Latika needs a couple weeks off from work. And she advised me to go to therapy. So I did that. And it was in those moments that I'm so grateful to God for God shedding so much wisdom and so much discernment on me. And He was basically, okay, let's create a plan. And so I was able to create a work and life balance plan for myself and for my family. And so with what I had to realize is that my work life balance plan did not have to look like others. It could be my own plan and what I needed to manage what I had on my plate. And what I really had to do is sit down with God and say, okay, God, what is it that I have on my plate that I put on my plate, and what did you put on my plate? Because there are a lot of times that I did a lot with church, with community, with my girls' extracurricular activities. I volunteered. I said yes to everything. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And that caused a lot of stress on me, because here I am trying to be super mom and be super wife and be here and be there. And it did not work for me. So I had to sit down and go through what was called a wheel of life. And really, in this wheel of life, picture a pie. Each slice of that pie was a certain aspect of my life: career, church, community. What was I doing in the community? The girls' extracurricular activities, the things I wanted to do with their school. I wanted to be on their PTO. Like, there's so many things that took a slice of that pie. And what I had to do is really dissect it and say, is this a priority for me? Is it a priority for me to be a leader of the Girl Scouts troop that they were in? Is it a priority for me to be on the PTO? Or can I just support the teachers and the school when I am able to? I really had to sit down and ask myself that question. Then I had to look at, okay, in order for me to do the things that I want to do in my job, in my career, my husband and I had to sit down and figure a schedule out. So here I am. Because I am a early bird person, I said, okay, I'll take the morning. I'll go in first thing in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, so I can come home in the evening and be here to pick up the kids off the bus, get them from daycare, do homework, extracurricular activities, while he prepared them in the morning and then got them on the bus, and then he went to work. And so I was able to figure that schedule out with my husband. But what I also needed was support. My family was not local. And a lot of my family is not even in the state that I live in. And so God blessed me with a church family that adopted me and my children. And so individuals in the church became closer to me than my biological family. And they became my family and they became my support. I had my husband's family, so my in laws, they were close. So they were able to support as well. But I had to tell them what I needed. I needed you, on certain days to come pick up the kids while I was at work. And I worked in big city, but I lived in the suburbs in a neighboring state. And so here I am with a commute that was an hour and a half, 2 hours one way. I needed other people to support. And so I needed to figure out what that looked like. I had to rely on neighbors. And me being an extrovert, I was able to build relationships with my neighbors. And so now, because I built those relationships and now nurtured them, now trusted them, I could call them and say, hey, can you pick up the kids from the bus stop? Can you pick up the kids from daycare? So it was really an opportunity for me to open my eyes and see that there's support. Even though I didn't have my biological family, I could create a family that would support me and my internal family. And what I also realized in this work and life balance plan is that I needed to tell my husband how much I needed him. What I realized is that I would get so frustrated because I'm like, man, here you are, you coming in the house, you get to chill, and I'm sitting up here stressed, pulling my hair out, my hair is turning gray. I'm going crazy. But what I realized is that I needed to sit down with him and say, hey, I need you more in this area. I need you more in this area, because what I failed to realize is that I needed to tell him that I needed him, even though there were things that I'm pretty sure you and I could say, isn't that pretty clear that we need your help in this? But it was not clear to him. But I needed to say, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for the girls. And even now, I say that now to him. He asks, what do I need? I need you to do this. Or I ask, hey, what you about to do in the next 5 minutes? Nothing? Great. I got something for you. Can you pull out the clothes out the dryer and put them on the bed? I'll fold them. But doing that one task will help me. I needed to have those conversations with him so he can also feel involved in that work and life balance plan. I also had to figure out, okay, here's what I want to do in my career. Let's find some jobs that will allow me to have the flexibility to work early in the morning and also have a schedule where I can get off at a reasonable time to get the girls off the bus. And then also to give me the type of schedule where I can have one day off every other week. Every other week. Oh my goodness, that has been such a blessing to me because with that, I've been able to kind of just woosah on those days where I don't have to worry about, you know, logging in to work or going into the office. I can just get the girls, get them ready, get them off to the bus. I can go to my local coffee shop and sit at the fireplace and just sit and read a book so that I mentally can be okay. And so there's so many other things that I included in my work and life balance plan, but it really allowed me to sit down with myself and with God and my husband and say, okay, this is what I need to do in order for me to survive as a working mom. I know that I can't be superwoman. I cannot be super mom. But when I have all of the pieces around me and I have the slices of the pie fit together, my wheel of life will allow me to balance and be able to manage what it is that I want to do in my life, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, career wise. I'm able to do that. And so I encourage you today that if you are like me, a working mom, and maybe you work in a male dominated industry, maybe you have multiple children, maybe you're trying to figure out how am I want to go up the career ladder, but I don't know how when I have to do X, Y, and Z with the kids and their schedules, and because the Lord knows they have a schedule. I know you're asking yourself those questions, but you have to sit down and ask yourself, what is it that I need? And literally stop everything and ask yourself those questions. Get a notebook, a journal, and answer that. What is it that I need? And if it's only one thing you need, it's okay. And if it's 50 things you need, it's okay. But what do you need and what can others do to fulfill that need? Because there are things that you need. You need food for your children, for your whole family. Who can supply that? Maybe a, a, a seasoned saint in the church can cook for your family. Maybe on Sundays, that seasoned saint who loves to cook and maybe doesn't have, family local, and you give her a few dollars to cook a couple meals, 3 meals for the week. Do you know how much that can save you as far as mentally and physically? Look at what you need and ask the individuals that could fulfill that, who want to fulfill that. Go to them and ask them. And you can create a work and life balance plan that will enable you to succeed professionally and personally. It is possible, but we can't do this by ourselves. And that's something that I felt that I needed to do by myself. But God sat me down and said, no, you can't do this by yourself. You need my help. You need my wisdom. You need my discernment. And I'm going to show you the vessels that will give you what you need to be the mom, to be the wife, to be the professional, to be the sister that you said that you want to be. So I encourage you to do the same. It's possible. It is so possible. But right now, sit down and figure out what is it you need, who can fulfill those needs, and create your work and life balance plan. I am Latika. I'm a working mom of four. And listen, I get it. I get it. I've been down this road and I have been blessed because God has given me that wisdom and that discernment. And I have made it my mission to help other moms to do the same thing, to create their work and life balance plans, to grow in their careers. And I encourage you to do the same, to figure out what it is you need, create your work and life balance plan so you can do what it is that you need to do personally and professionally. Thank you so much for listening to my story.